Alright, so in this model, for you guys as practical, we have our skin, our integument, and we also have this model, right? So just want to go through and point out, this won't be a lot of your practical because it was only one lab, and you're going to be tested from labs 11 through labs 25. Okay, so as you're looking at this model, you've got 3 different distinct views of the body, right? This is the sole and plantar surface of the foot or the palm. This should be your axillary region, and this would be your scalp, right? And of course, this points out that there are no hair follicles or sebaceous glands on the bottom of the foot, and these ones you see the hair follicles. And in this case, I know that's axillary because of this specialized, right, apocrine sweat gland, right? When we look at this model back here, it's really the same setup, 3 different regions of the body, slightly different order, but you're looking again at no hair follicles on the bottom of the foot. You've got the apocrine glands this time leading to the surface of a hair follicle, and then you have the scalp. Okay, so we are probably going to ask you to note the different layers. So this, of course, where all this adipose tissue is at the hypodermis. This is the skin itself, or skin proper, right? So most of it made up of dermis, and then the slight epidermis. We could ask you about some layers, right? Like the stratum corneum, the stratum lucidum here. That's a unique feature on the bottom of the foot or the hands, thick skin. And then you have the various layers of the granulosum, spinosum, and the basal or base. Right? You see features like the dermal papillae. These are all the projections. And on this model, you see the tiny sensory, right, tactile sensors that would be projecting into this. This is also an area where lots of blood vessels enter to deliver blood to this stratum basal. Right? So pretty much all epithelial cells as we look at that epidermis, right? And we might ask you to define some layers. This model doesn't really add anything to that. They have a slightly thicker stratum corneum, right? And they use letters as opposed to numbers, but it's still the basic idea. You don't really see the cells themselves in this epidermis, right here and here. Okay, so in the dermis, lots of things going on we could ask you about. We could ask you about these sweat glands here, right here, 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 called the merocrine, sometimes referred to as the eccrine. They're the simple coiled tubes. Duct leads out to the surface. Not typically associated with a hair follicle, right? You have the sebaceous glands, which are pretty much simple alveolar, or alveolus, right here, here. Always going to be associated with a hair follicle. Right? Very short ducts leading to the surface of hair, right? Producing sebum. If you have hair follicles, you have this muscle, the erector pili, that controls creating the effect of goosebumps, right? And if you're in the axillary region, you also have this gland, again an apocrine sweat gland that produces some organic materials. Most of the sweat is usually inorganic salts and waste, but in the underarms we also get some organic materials, bacteria to create our pheromones, right? So not a lot different on this model. Again, you've got here now the sensors are they're bright yellow. Usually nerves are shown in yellow on models, right? Here's these delicate or discriminating touch tactile sensors. Here's your what you call the deep pressure or lamellated receptors, right? They look like onions, more or less, and they're down lower. Again, you've got your sweat, right? Your typical sweat glands, eccrine or merocrine. You've got an apocrine sweat gland, and then you have these sebaceous glands, right? And some lovely erector pili associated with the hair. Okay, so that pretty much, right, outlines what we need to know in skin. I also said that you might have to know a slide, possibly. I put one on our practice practical today just to kind of shake you into the reality of that's still a possibility, and I ask you to know the bottom of the foot or the melanin granules or something of that effect. So I hope that this kind of gives you an outline more of what to expect there.